Thousands of people around the world go missing every year. Here are 10 of the most unusual stories of people who literally vanished into thin air. On February 9, 2004, a 21-year-old student at the University of Massachusetts sent emails to her employer and several professors, informing them that she had to leave town due to the death of a close relative. That same night, Maura got into an accident, crashing her car into a tree near the town of Woodsville in New Hampshire, USA. Strangely, just 2 days before Maura's incident, another car crash had occurred in the exact same place. A passing bus driver offered Maura help, but she refused. Nevertheless, the bus driver managed to reach a phone and called for assistance. Police arrived at the scene of the accident within 10 minutes but found that the girl had vanished without a trace. There were no signs of a struggle at the scene, so the official version states that Maura left the accident site voluntarily. The next day, Maura's relatives in Oklahoma received a voicemail containing muffled sobs. Although, according to eyewitnesses, Maura had been behaving strangely in the days leading up to her mysterious disappearance, her family is convinced that she could not have left the accident site on her own without leaving any trace. For 9 years now, no one has been able to find an adequate explanation for what happened. On December 10, 1999, at 4 a.m., 18-year-old UCLA freshman Michael Negretti turned off his computer after spending the entire night playing video games with friends. At 9 a.m., his roommate noticed that Michael was gone, having left behind his keys and wallet. He has never been seen again. What's most interesting is that the student apparently left barefoot. His shoes were still in the room. Police with search dogs combed the surrounding area, but found no trace of the barefoot freshman. Interviews with local residents revealed that at 4:35 a.m., an unidentified pedestrian was spotted near the scene, but whether it was Michael or someone connected to his disappearance remains unknown. On the morning of June 13, 2001, 19-year-old Jason Jalkowski left for work in the small town of Omaha, Nebraska, USA. He had arranged for a friend to pick him up at a nearby school, but Jason never showed up there. The last person to see him was a neighbor, about half an hour before the scheduled meeting time. According to this valuable witness, Jason was bringing trash bins into his garage. From surveillance footage taken by investigators from the school's security cameras, it was clear that Jason had never been there. At the same time, his friends and relatives couldn't name any reasons why he would want to disappear. In 2003, Jason's parents, Jim and Kelly Jalkowski, founded Project Jason, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the search for missing persons in memory of their son. But Jason's own fate still remains a mystery. 27-year-old Ohio State University medical student Brian Schaefer went out for a few drinks on the evening of April 1, 2006, at a bar called Ugly Tuna Saloona. Between 1:30 and 2 a.m., Brian mysteriously disappeared. According to eyewitnesses, the student was heavily intoxicated and was talking on the phone with his girlfriend. He was then seen in the company of 2 other young women. After that, no one at the bar saw him again. The most curious thing is that many people noticed Schaefer entering the bar, but no one remembers him leaving. His exit wasn't even captured by surveillance cameras, although they clearly show the student walking into the bar. Although 3 weeks earlier Brian had told his mother that he was planning to go on vacation with his girlfriend, friends and relatives are convinced that he couldn't have left for a trip so suddenly. One theory suggests that Schaefer may have been kidnapped, but how the perpetrator managed to get him out of the bar without being caught on camera or seen by numerous witnesses remains a mystery that continues to baffle investigators. 8-year-old Nicole Morin disappeared on July 30, 1985, from a penthouse in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, where she lived with her mother. That morning, Nicole and her friend were planning to go swimming in a pool located in another part of the large building. At around 10:30 a.m., Nicole said goodbye to her mother and left the apartment. 15 minutes later, her friend knocked on the door to ask when Nicole was finally coming. What followed was one of the largest police investigations in Toronto's history, but no leads that could point to the girl's whereabouts were ever found. The most likely theory was abduction, but investigators found no evidence of it anywhere in the entire 20-story residential complex. And so, the mystery of Nicole Morin's disappearance has haunted local residents for nearly 3 decades. On May 14, 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson was driving his car toward his hometown of Marshall, Minnesota. At some point, his car veered off a rural road and ended up in a ditch. The young man called his parents and asked them to pick him up at the accident site, but when they arrived, they couldn't find him. Answering a call from his father, Brandon said he was walking toward the nearby town of Lind. Then he suddenly cursed and the call was cut off. Several attempts to reach the young man by phone led to nothing. Later, police found Brandon's abandoned car, but neither his cell phone nor Brandon himself were ever located. One theory suggests that he may have drowned in a nearby river, but a thorough search of the riverbed turned up nothing. The young man vanished without a trace. French inventor Louis Le Prince is considered by many to be the true creator of cinema. He designed the first single-lens motion picture camera capable of recording moving images on film. However, he is known not only for his contributions to filmmaking. His strange disappearance continues to puzzle the world. On September 16, 1890, Le Prince was visiting his brother in the French city of Dijon. He then boarded a train to Paris, but when the train arrived in the capital, it turned out that Le Prince had mysteriously vanished. He was last seen boarding his train car. Although the train made several stops along the way, no one saw him disembark. In addition, the inventor was traveling with a large amount of luggage, including numerous sketches and equipment, all of which disappeared without a trace. The theory of suicide was considered unconvincing by investigators, as Le Prince likely had no reason to take his own life. From Paris, he planned to travel to the United States, where he was set to receive patents for his inventions. One popular theory suggests that Le Prince was kidnapped by another well-known inventor, Thomas Edison, in order to maintain his own reputation as the father of cinema. However, there is no solid evidence to support this claim. One of the most mysterious disappearances in British history occurred on April 8, 1969, in the county of Norfolk. 13-year-old schoolgirl April Fabb from the small town of Metton set out to visit her sister in the nearby village of Roughton. The girl went on her bicycle, and the last person to see her was a truck driver who spotted a girl matching April's description on a country road at 2:06 p.m. By 2:12 p.m., her bicycle was found in the middle of a field several hundred meters from the spot where the driver had seen her. No trace of the girl was found nearby. The main theory of the investigation was abduction, but it seemed unbelievable that an unknown perpetrator could have kidnapped April in just 6 minutes without leaving a single clue for investigators. The case of April Fabb's disappearance resembles the mysterious vanishing of a young girl named Jeanette Tate, which happened in 1978. At the time, the main suspect was serial killer and rapist Robert Black, but there is no evidence confirming that Black had anything to do with April's disappearance, leaving only speculation. On July 18, 2007, 55-year-old resident of the town of Corvallis, Montana, USA, Barbara Bollock went hiking in the Bitterroot Mountains with a friend, Jim Ramaker, who had come to visit her from California to enjoy the local nature. While the two were near Bear Creek, Jim stopped to admire the beautiful, scenic view. According to him, he lost sight of Barbara for no more than a minute, and she had been only about 6 to 9 meters away from the spot where he stood enjoying the landscape. When he turned around, he discovered that his older friend had vanished into thin air. A large-scale search operation followed, but no trace of Barbara was ever found. Naturally, the police investigating the disappearance thoroughly examined all of Jim Ramaker's statements, suspecting he might be involved in her vanishing. However, no evidence of abduction or murder was found. Moreover, if Jim had been guilty of something, he would likely have come up with a more convincing story for the investigators than an inexplicable disappearance in broad daylight. On August 23, 2008, Michael Heron went to his farm in Happy Valley, Tennessee to mow the lawn. That morning, acquaintances saw Michael leaving the farm on his ATV. This was the last time the 51-year-old retiree was ever seen. The next day, neighbors found Michael's truck and trailer on his property, with the lawnmower still loaded onto it. The grass remained uncut. When a day later all of Michael's equipment was found abandoned in the same spot on the side of the road, his friends raised the alarm. Inside the truck were his keys, wallet, and cell phone, but Michael himself had vanished without a trace. 3 days later, police discovered the ATV about 1.5 kilometers from the farm. According to Michael's friends, it definitely belonged to him, but the find shed no light on the strange incident. Michael had no known enemies who might have caused his disappearance, nor any reason to run away, which is why the farmer's vanishing remains a mystery to this day.